Engaging. This is BarCode, a cocktail-powered podcast that dives deep into the personalities, criminals, and heroes that have come to define security across the globe. Please join our host, Chris Glandon, for another wild foray into the incredible world of humans and how they intertwine with today's modern technology. We hope you enjoy today's episode.
Three, two, one.
Activate.
Welcome to BarCode. I'm your host, Chris Glandon, and today I'm joined by Josh Mason, a solutions architect at CINAC, founder of Newb Village, and experienced cybersecurity consultant. Before entering the private sector, Josh served as a U.S. Air Force pilot and cyber warfare officer, where he not only defended national interests, but also helped train the next generation of cyber professionals. Now he taps into that same passion with mentorship, education, and empowering newcomers through his nonprofit work and public speaking. With a new book and podcast just released, Josh is laser focused on making cyber more accessible for everyone. Josh, thanks for stopping by BarCode, man.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So to kick things off, I'd love to hear more about your personal journey. You know, if you wouldn't mind walking us through how that unfolded and how you entered into the security field.
Yeah. So for me, I started life as a pilot out of college and flew for a while. And then some life happened and had to stop flying, but my time in the Air Force hadn't come to an end. So the Air Force swapped me over into cyber warfare. I got to lead some amazing folks. This was actually my going away gift from my my troops at the 1st Special Operations Communications Squadron. I think it says Comms Best Cyber Pilot. And went from there, taught at the Special Operations School for a bit, and then got out of the Air Force end of 2019. Moved from Florida up here to Maryland and taught at the Defense Cyber Crime Center Cyber Training Academy because I had Sec Plus and had my security clearance, and started realizing that people didn't know how to get into cybersecurity. Ran into folks who had the same issues I did when I was getting out of the military, of didn't know how to get into jobs, didn't know what jobs were available. And then met, all of our friends, saw what Philip Wiley was doing and Neil Bridges and Gerald Dozier, and started following along. And you follow along long enough and start sharing what other people are doing, and people started following me to find out what I was sharing. Eventually, people wanted to know what I knew, and really everything that I know is just, I don't know, I'm a sponge. I've collected a lot of stuff, and I just dump it out over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what platform did you start on? Was it YouTube, or was it just doing audio podcasts?
I've done YouTube. My channels are nothing great. I helped out over at INE, wrote and recorded a bunch of videos for EJPT.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually at the AWS Summit last month and walking around, and someone's like, Josh Mason. I was like, yeah? They're like, I'm a INE security PTS student, so I recognize you from the videos. I was like, oh, cool. You made those back in 2002, which is a while ago now.
Yeah. Well, it's still got to be a good feeling to get that recognition.
It's cool. That happened in Denver at Wild West Hacking Fest Denver. Someone's like, "Oh, hey, I took your course." I was like, "That's really cool. That's awesome. I'm so glad."
Yeah.
Record myself for that. I realized I don't love spending all day recording myself. I felt super narcissistic, just seeing myself on the screen, talking to my screen, and then saying the same thing over and over again, realizing that I'd messed things up. eventually I'd be like, okay, I'm fine with this. Send it over to the editors. They'd be like, this is fine. This is perfectly fine. And it would go up onto the site. So anything for YouTube, I'd be, I don't know, critical of it. Eventually, like last year at Black Hat, I was hanging out with Gerald Dozier and Wade Wells, and Jerry had this idea for an offensive podcast he was going to call it Simply Offensive. I was talking to Wade. I was like, hey, we should do one called Simply Defensive and just interview people about blue team stuff. And Wade's like, sure, Josh, we can do that. And so we just started recording season 4. We actually got the 3rd episode this afternoon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats,
and that
man.
one's pretty cool.
Philip Wiley, I think, just started Simply Offensive.
Yeah. The one that Jerry originally was talking about never came through. The other folks he was going to do it with did something else. That's fine. Yeah, and it's awesome that Philip's doing that. So that'll be good.
Yeah. I don't know if episode 1 officially dropped yet, but
I think it did last week.
did it? Okay.
Yeah. I've seen the episodes that he's recorded. I don't know when they dropped, but I've seen the episode and it's good.
Philip doesn't disappoint. I'll tell you that. And
No.
he's a beast, man, because I think he has 3 or 4 podcasts at the moment. So
Yeah, the Philip Wiley Show, and I think he's starting up the Hacker Factory again.
yeah. And he's got one for his employer, Phosphorus. So he's doing that for them too. So yeah, he's a madman.
He's my inspiration. I don't know.
Well, I'm lucky. I mean, I think we're lucky to have, other podcasters within our network that we can talk to, and nobody that I know, at least in my network, is defensive about sharing what works for them. I've helped Philip out on things, he's helped me out, and I think that's how we grow as content creators within security. So
Yeah. Well, Philip got me the gig at INE.
oh, nice.
Well, I can't solely, but he was at INE and he was leaving. And he, no kidding, gave me a call because we had chatted before. We'd known each other for a little over a year and a half at that point. A little back and forth at LinkedIn. Eventually, we had done a few video calls, mentoring sessions where I wanted to get his input on some things, make sure I was doing things right, making good impressions. And then he gave me his number so we could chat a few times. And yeah, then he gave me a call. He was like, hey, there's going to be this job opening, or there is this job opening, you should apply for it. And then in the interview, I was like, I'm excited to work with you all and with Philip. And that's when they told me, oh, actually, Philip's leaving. That's why there's an opening. I was like, oh, he left that out, which is cool. But yeah.
So you had mentioned Wild West Hacking Fest, and we were just talking about this offline in terms of community conferences and things like that. And we actually met down at HackSpaceCon. I guess that was 2 months ago now. But you frequent conferences just as I do, and we're sort of right at the doorstep of DEF CON 33 now. And this one in particular is special to you. So I do want to talk to you a little bit about Newb Village for a second. Talk to me about that, and what was the inspiration behind launching that, and if you can just give us a preview of what attendees will see there.
Yeah, my biggest impetus was my friend and mentor Neil Bridges, who I look up to greatly. A few years ago, he was at Black Hat DEF CON. I hadn't yet been, and doing live streams, updates from the con. People asked, is it worth it? And he did a whole video on whether it's worth it. And his takeaway was, if you've been around, people, it's a con, there's a lot to do there. If you're new, though, it can be intimidating. It can be a lot, and it might not be worth it at all. And I was like, that kind of stinks. We can do better. And despite having never been to DEF CON, I was like, why don't we... Actually, I don't even know if I had been to a cyber conference yet at that point. I was
And
like,
your first one was DEF
we
CON?
can do this. No, my first was Wild West Hacking Fest, but
Okay.
it all kind of came from this. It was way west. Had the idea, let's do a Newb Village. Let's put this together. It can't be that hard. So on LinkedIn, was like, hey, anyone interested in seeing if we can make this happen? Gerald Dozier was like, yeah, man, I'm in, which kind of solidified. Now he's stuck with me. For better or worse, we are tied together, I think, for forever now. And I love it. But he was like, maybe this is a bit much. Let's get some input. So we met with Deb and Jason, Deb Wigley and Jason Blanchard from Black Hills, because, Black Hills runs Wild West Hacking Fest, to get some insight on what does it actually take to run a con and all of that stuff. And that made Jerry more wary rather than less. But I was like, it can't be that hard. It can't be that bad. And anyways, we put together the proposal. We did all the stuff. It didn't get accepted. Their reasoning being, when they told me, was that they just didn't have the room. That was when it was back at Caesar's Forum. And even like the year after that, when they were in like several hotels and Caesar's Forum, yeah, they're just in that whole location, there wasn't room. Even at the convention center, it's packed. Frankly, I feel lucky that we got in this year. But I think we wore them down. Also, it led to a whole chain of events. Meeting Deb and Jason got me into kind of the Black Hills community. I got into some of their podcasts and live streams and met with Velda, who was running Wild West Hacking Fest at the time. She connected me with Kip Boyle, who went and worked with Kip and ran a resume review, a workshop at Way West, which was my first cybersecurity conference, and I was running a workshop, and we live streamed it, for better or worse. It was wild. And I've been to every Wild West Hacking Fest since that, and have volunteered or spoken at each one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, that's one on my list.
So, yeah, it's a great place to be. I grew up going to church a lot. My family was really religious, and certain people will get this like summer camp, like Christian summer camp. At the end of the week, you had this feeling of just feeling like really loved and like, oh man, this is great. I get that at the end of Deadwood every time. It's not like a religious thing. It's just like very connected, high like serotonin and dopamine from like the relationships. It's really cool. Plus, there is so much knowledge that comes from like that community. There's a lot of great talks. Anyways, I've been to a couple DEF CONs since. I've volunteered at Aerospace Village and ICS Village. Helped with Tom Van Norman and Bryson Board at ICS Village, and Steve and Matt and the Matts and the folks at Aerospace Village, and seeing how they've run things. And everyone wants there to be great stuff for new people, but just the way DEF CON is structured, it's cons within cons.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the goons have to be, they're not there to like babysit.
No.
And like guide people to a starting point. So unless someone is there holding someone's hand, you have to do your research. You have to read the freaking manual, all of that stuff before showing up, or just be willing to be overwhelmed. And that can be hard for a lot of people. There's a lot of us who are neurodivergent. I'm on the spectrum, and I've got ADHD. That's not obvious. For me, it works. For a lot of other people, that means they don't go, or they don't enjoy it, or, whatever. And it's a shame. And we can do better. So the point of Newb Village is to be, again, to kind of go back to my like church upbringing, to be like the guys at the front door to like welcome people in and be like, oh, hey, like there's going to be like a potluck later. Like, come join us. Like, oh, hey, here, let me introduce you to a few people and like show you around, tell you like where the best places to sit are, and like, hey, you're new, like, oh, you've got kids, let me introduce you to people with kids. That sort of, or, oh, you've got kids, let me take you down to the nursery. For people, again, this might hit with some folks, it might not hit with others, but I like analogies. But like for noobs, we're going to have folks at LineCon who are going to be handing out pamphlets and being like, hey, are you new? Are you new? And we're going to have shirts that say like, we're friends of noobs, and like, ask me anything, seriously. I just ordered them yesterday. And handing out stickers and being there to answer questions. And we're gonna have stickers that say, like, are you like a friend of a noob? Like, are you willing to answer questions? That's the next thing I gotta make for swag, actually, is for folks who want to be willing to answer questions for new people, but aren't necessarily part of the community. And then if they, need a place to go where they're not going to be like judged for asking stupid questions, we have a booth called No Stupid Questions, where you can literally ask anything and we will answer it. There won't be any like, no, you gotta read the manual, or like, you gotta look this up in HackerShare.
Yeah.
We will sit there. We will help you get on the Wi-Fi, help you download Hacker Tracker, point you to where it is. We will walk you through the documentation, and we will smile and be glad to do it, because I need that and I appreciate that. So we're going to do that for other people. We've got a CTF. I'm actually meeting with the folks at Meta in like an hour and a half to get that one kicked off. Philip's going to be talking. Gerald Dozier's going to be talking. James McQuiggan, Michelle Kahn, Jason Haddix, Ben Nomsek, John Hammond's going to be there. Leith, Dennis is going to be there. Yeah, Tiberius. So we've got quite a few speakers. I'm not going to like advertise the speaker lineup because I don't want like a line of just people to show up. I want people to come because they're noobs. And then like Johnny Hams walks in and then being like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a website for the village, correct?
We do.
Okay.
newbvillage.org.
Okay. And it will be in the convention center, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
On the second floor.
Second floor. Got it.
Yep. We're going to have what we call buddies, volunteers who will actually like, if someone's like, oh, hey, how do I find this? We'll be like, okay, you want to go find Aerospace Village? You want to go find Hardware Hacking Village or Car Hacking Village? Excellent. Like, anyone else want to go to Car Hacking Village? Follow us and have a little flag. I need to buy flags. Little flag and be like, all right, walk this way, and take you all the way there and be like, hey, you help run this thing? These are some noobs. They are interested in learning. Can I hand them off to you? And we're collaborating with all the villages. They know we exist. They know I've got this plan, and they're like, okay, we get that. We're cool with it. We like that. So it's really neat because they don't necessarily have the ability to just sit there. And a lot of folks have tons of volunteers and have the ability to be like, oh, hey, welcome in. Over here's this, over here's that, over there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I did that at Aerospace Village one year, but not everyone does. Not everyone has the volunteers or the bandwidth or just the capabilities. So that can be a bit much. So that's also what the buddies are going to do.
Love it.
We're going to learn whatever all the different villages have, what they're all doing, and we're building our own database to be able to do that. And we're partnering with Lonely Hackers, who are going to be a couple doors down from us, and they're doing some mentoring, some resume reviews, also introducing folks to one another. So if you're new and you want to meet others, that's literally what Lonely Hackers was made for.
Okay.
Came out of r/DEF CON, the subreddit, for folks who are, hey, I'm at DEF CON and I don't know what I'm doing and I want to meet other people.
Yeah.
Lonely Hackers, great folks. We'll be right next to Diana Initiative. They have a chill out room, just a room. It'll have couches, cool vibes. I don't know, maybe essential oil diffusers, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe that's the opposite of what people want.
Oh, man, you need like a IV station in there. That's what you really need.
Maybe liquid IV.
Liquid IV.
Maybe we can get sponsored.
Yes, I always carry liquid IV with me.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your new book as well. You've recently authored a new book called Speak Security with a Business Accent. Is that your first book? There you go.
I'm shipping a couple out for a reviewer, and someone just bought a signed copy on my website.
Nice.
mason-sc.com.
Yeah, so tell us, I guess, what that's about, and, what was that experience like writing that book?
So one of the things coming into security, not having like the comp sci networking system admin like background, is I understood it all, but my mindset had been ops, leadership. The Air Force trains you as an officer to think like a general, and especially as a pilot to think like an aircraft commander. And so like you think of like, okay, how are we going to win this war? How are we going to do it with logistics? How are we going to do it with like big picture type stuff? And then like, okay, how do we now fit into that in like, I was a cargo pilot, so I was a C-130, being able to carry, like 3 trucks in the back or, about that sort of thing. How do we play into that? Where do we fit? And so we aren't the mission, we support the mission. So then I showed up in comm, and they're like, okay, so we have these requirements. Our mission is this. We got to do these things. And I was like, well, you guys know you aren't the mission, right? And they're like, yeah, no, we have these requirements, like legal, like from DISA, from Congress, like from NIST. I was like, well, kind of. They're like, no, we have to do these things. Like these vulnerabilities, they're not fixed. We will get hacked. I was like, well, kind of. It was like, planes aren't going to crash. People aren't going to die. Like, well, but they could. I was like, no, I was a mishap investigator. I've had friends who've died in crashes. Like, no. Like, I get it. You can take your job seriously, but like, you don't have to take your job seriously thinking it's more important than what you're being asked from leadership. It's like, I know you want to, everyone wants to like be a pen tester and hack the system. But like, seriously, the wing commander just needs email the work for 2 weeks without a break. Like, and I get why he's pissed that it's not. Why after 4 years in leadership, he hasn't gotten that from you. And after like 6 months in the comm squadron, my boss is like, Josh, I don't think you have a future in cyber. I was like, I don't either. I didn't ask for cyber. I'm ready to go. And so like, that's why I went to the special operations school. I went to go teach because I wanted to take a break and to teach. And when I was getting out of the Air Force, I had an MBA. I was looking at project manager stuff. I was ready to take my PMP exam. I had taken all the study, I used Onward to Opportunity from Syracuse University. It's a veteran program where they'll pay for all of your training and your test for a professional certification. And like during the pandemic in 2020, I was like weeks out from taking my PMP exam. And then my buddy Stefan Semmelroth, even while I was teaching cybersecurity stuff, was like, Josh, no, like, stop it. And so I swapped. I had a month left before like everything was going to be due. And so I swapped at that point, started studying CISP.
Okay.
Had a month of study where I like could still take my test and swapped over to CISP and did that. And then was like, okay, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this like seriously, and I'm going to help people, and I'm going to see if I can like actually make an impression here.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can change how we're doing things in cybersecurity. And that was also the challenge. It was like, all right, well, if you think this is broken, Josh, then figure out a way to fix it. I'm like, okay, well, let's see if we can make some headway in hiring and change mentalities. So working with folks like Naomi Buckwalter and Philip and Gerald, trying to change mentalities on what does it look like to hire someone in cybersecurity? What does it look like to change training and certifications in cybersecurity? And then I found the Phoenix Project a couple years ago. There's that book it's prose, it's a narrative, it's a story about a guy who his CIO and VP of IT get fired. And I'm ruining like the first chapter of the book. He gets called into the CEO's office and he's like, hey, you are now in charge of all of the IT. And there's a chance in the next month, if you don't fix this, we're going bankrupt and the company's going to go away. Also, in a couple of weeks, we're about to launch a big software project that really requires IT to not suck, and it is nowhere close to being ready. So figure that out and go do it. And it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And through like some mentorship and through like the process of this book, it's based off of a book that's all about manufacturing, the rule that is focused on a manufacturing plant that has a very similar issue. They've got this manufacturing plant and it's been around for a long time. They've got all these tools, all these people, all this material, but it's really close to like going bankrupt, even though they're putting out product, just because they're behind and they don't understand how they're behind because they have all the things that they should have.
Yeah.
And it's because their processes are broken. So they fix the manufacturing plant. In the Phoenix project, they fix their IT. Basically, they figure out DevOps. And in that, security plays a bit part. It kind of gets talked about. But it gets talked about in the same way that IT talks about security.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. I think everyone in security should read it. But you really have to like dig in and be like, okay, how does this apply to me? And I was like, we need something better. And so for a long time, I took principles that I knew from Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, stuff from leadership from the Air Force Academy and Boy Scouts and just stoicism and here and there. And all these principles that I knew that I use, that I try to use, notes that I've had in my journals and whatnot, and combine them into, if I was going to make a How to Win Friends and Influence People or the Phoenix Project, what would be the underlying principles that I would want to put across? And so like, I actually had from my book, rough version of like this, 12, 18 months in one fashion or another on my Google Drive. And I've used it for a few different presentations at like HackSpaceCon a couple years ago. And then at Wild West Hacking Fest a year and a half ago. And I used it for like debriefing principles. And finally I was like, you know what? It's about how we're talking, how we're speaking to the business. We talk about vulnerabilities, we talk about CVE scores, we talk about risk, and nobody cares about those things. We care about those things.
Mm-hmm.
When you see that in the news, that's a trigger of like, that's important to me. But a CFO, a CEO, that means nothing to them. If I say those things to my wife, she's like, okay, why do I care about that? A CEO cares about like quarterly numbers and customer retention and like revenue and like profit and loss. Things that like, is the business going to continue or is it going to die? And so we can take what we're talking about and just like put it in terms that they care about. We can say the same things,
Mm-hmm.
but have it actually matter.
Yeah.
Have them actually listen to it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And that really goes into something I'm working on now myself, is designing metrics. So you're putting metrics in front of different audiences. And one of
Yes.
those audiences could be board members. But there's only so much context that you can put into metrics. It's really hard to tell a story. And there's a lot of missing variables when you put a dashboard or metrics in front of the board.
I was actually just interviewing Chris Julio. He's a SOC manager at Jack in the Box. Wade Wells and I were interviewing him last week for an episode of the next season. And he did a talk at B-Side San Diego on metrics that matter. Talking about what does our quarterly revenue look like? What does our downtime look like?
Right.
We talk about 5 nines briefly, but truly the company cares about that way more than we do, you're like, oh, 5 nines. That means like we're down for like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, you know, if a server goes down and it's down for like a day,
Mm-hmm.
like 5 nines is blown out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you think about what that means in revenue, geez, CrowdStrike, I went to a Starbucks and they couldn't take drive-through orders because the machine that they used for the drive-through had CrowdStrike on it. And like, it was just blue screened. And like, could they still do business? Yeah. You had to like walk in, but they had to adjust how they were doing business. Now we're looking at what are the effects on the customer, on revenue, on generation, on trust. And then when you create a product and it goes south like that, what does that look like for not just like immediately, but for the next quarter, for the next year, for renewals, for churn? Like, I don't know. We used to talk about like Falcon being the shit. And do you remember that like EDR comparison, like S rank,
Mm-hmm.
down to like D rank? Like Falcon used to be considered like up there. And I don't know if it still is. And even if it is, are companies willing to take the financial risk of being down for business for a whole day? An airline down for a whole day? The fines? The customer trust? Like you're not talking about like, are we going to get ransomed? They don't even care. Like they're worried about like, what's this going to look like
Long
on our
term.
quarterly numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you come in like, oh, well, this is cheaper than this by like $2 million, they're like, we are like hundreds of billions of dollar company.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're down for a day, we're losing hundreds of millions in revenue or tens of millions in revenue. And what's that going to look like for the quarter and for the year? Like come back and talk to us about like, you know, not to be sexist, but like big boy numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like come talk to us like an adult.
Would you suggest an organization understand what those metrics should be? Because a lot of times they're assuming they know what the board wants to hear without understanding the business. Is it more about just working with business leaders to understand, you know, what is important and what they want to see? I assume that it's going to vary per organization.
You ask. Most big companies, they'll tell you. You look at the annual report. I have an MBA in aviation from Embry-Riddle. So I'm used to looking this up, but like Lockheed Martin investor page and look at their annual report. I've used it several times over the 8 years that I put off finishing my MBA. But for like seeing what the company cares about over the years, you can see a 108-page report, sometimes 150-page report on everything that they're telling their investors from the CEO and the CFO and the board about what the company cares about, what they were worried about this year, what they're like think their issues are, how they're going to deal with them, and why you should invest. And so like you don't have to guess. They're telling you right there. Even our company, we had I work at CINAC. We had a CINAC kickoff. Like I can go and look up all the information that our CEO put out. We had, we're going into the third quarter right now. This week. So we're probably going to have an all hands soon. And frankly, I'm going to have, I know because I'm on the sales team. I know what we're looking at for a company as a business because we sell a product and a service. So I know what we're about and what we're trying to do. And because of that, if I worked in IT or in dev or in marketing, and especially in sales, my part of my pay is tied to meeting the goals. Like we are commission based to an extent, less as the technical person, but we have to be tied into knowing what the company cares about. And so you listen, you pay attention to the quarters. And if you don't know, you ask. Frankly, that's what they do in the Phoenix Project. Sorry, ruining a 15-year-old book. It's It's like ruining Lord of the Rings. They dropped the ring in the mountain. Sorry. Uh,
I'll make a post to go watch that before this episode drops, so you're good.
but like they show up with notebooks, go to the COO/CFO's office, say, "Hey, what do you care about? What keeps you up at night? What should we be worried about?" And he's like, "Well, I talk about this stuff all the time." They're like, "Okay, yeah, right. But just like last night at dinner, I wasn't listening, and my therapist said I should now, so I'm listening." The couples therapist said I'm supposed to listen.
Yeah.
So I got a notebook, and I'm sitting here, and I'm looking at you, and I'm actively listening. So do that.
You mentioned CINAC and what you do there. So can you tell us a little bit about the organization and what CINAC provides, and I guess more about your role?
Sure. So I'm a solutions architect on the federal team. I work with government civilian side. I'm the technical side of the sales duo with my better half Brandy. And CINAC is a platform that has been termed pen test as a service. There's a lot of products now that go by pen test as a service, but since 2013, our founders, they came out of the NSA. They realized that pen testing is kind of broken. The traditional way that pen testing works is you realize, oh, I've got PCI that needs to be done, or HIPAA, or some other compliance, or you care about security and you realize I should have testers look at my stuff and help me fix it. Every once in a while, someone actually decides that's what they need, not just compliance. And so they look for a pen testing firm. They go, okay, pen testing firm. They find like Red Seer, or Red Canary, or Red Siege, or Black Hills, or Nuvik, and then they ask for quotes, do some scoping, eventually schedule out the test. Once the test happens, you get 2 weeks of like a couple testers, or maybe one tester. They scan things. After they get their results back from scanning, then they start, trying to find exploits in there. And then they write up a report after the couple weeks. And you might get that report at the end of the test. You might get it a few weeks later. You might get it a few months later. And then you get that PDF. And then hopefully they found stuff, tells you how to fix it, and you can hand it to the people who can fix it. And then they go through the PDF and they do that stuff. And that's usually how it works. And that's slow. And it's unnecessarily slow, especially in a world of everything being online. So they built a platform. You can put in your domains, your IP addresses, your cloud tenants, your mobile apps into the platform, similar to how you would for like Qualys or Tenable or Expanse. And we can actually ingest that information as well if you've already got it. Now you've got it in what I think of as a vulnerability management platform. From there, you can decide what you want tested. And you can pick those things, set up your test. There's a easy wizard on the platform. Or all of our clients get a technical account manager and a customer success manager. The technical account manager tends to know more about the vulnerabilities of our clients than the clients do themselves. They also know all of the pen testers really, really well because they put together the cohorts. We've got a corral, I call it a corral, of about 1,500 pen testers. It's actually, I think it's closer to 1,800, but of the active ones, it's about 1,500. And depending on the test, who we're testing, what we're testing, they'll put together a cohort of 20 to 30 on average. Sometimes it can be 40 to 50 testers, and all the scanning we'll do beforehand. We'll do connectivity tests beforehand. That way everything's green. We've got all the Nmap, Qualys, Nessus, all that up front. If it's a web app, we've got all the Burp Suite Pro, all of those scans beforehand. Nuclei, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it's go time, which can be as little as 2 days from you're like, oh, I want to test this start on Thursday. It's Monday right now for those, as we're recording. You want to test on Thursday, we can probably get that going. Not Thursday, in September, 2 days from now.
Yeah.
We can probably spin that up.
It's quick.
And then we'll have 20 testers. They'll kick off and they will their goal and how they get paid is they find exploitable vulns. They don't find like HTTPS headers. They don't find like SSL certs. No, they have to find like an exploitable vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
They put it on their side of the platform because all of our testers have to go through our virtual desktop environments, which kind of a pain for them, but it ensures that we know exactly what they're doing. Since it's a VDI cloud desktops, we can actually cut off the test if we need to. It's also, everything's coming from one IP address. So we can give that to the client so that they can allow list through a WAF or a proxy or whatever, which they're going to do anyways. Most everyone uses like a droplet or a proxy for a pen testing firm. So one way or another. And then they'll put it in on their form and what they found, why it matters, CVSS score, how they found it, how to fix it. And then that goes to another team, VulnOps. They'll validate, yes, I can get in. I can exploit this the way you say you can. They get paid, and it goes immediately to the platform. So the client gets a ding notification, vulnerability was found on this assessment. That could be like Friday. Not like a couple months from now. Like you start a test on Thursday, you might get it Thursday night. You might get it Friday. Like during that 14-day period, they are competing to get these. So someone else finds it before you, they're getting paid. And if you don't find stuff, you don't stick around.
Yeah.
We don't just let people chill out on the team. If they suck, the TAMs don't keep them around. And Ryan, who runs our SRT, is like,
you're done.
Yeah, you can unsubscribe. So yeah, it's we do well. And then from there, they can see exactly what happens. It can export into like Jira or any other ticketing system automatically. So if it needs to go to like the cloud team or the infrastructure team or the software team, they can get a ticket immediately. So if they need to create a patch or fix a thing, boom, it goes directly to them rather than having to be like managed or all of that. And then if someone wants to, hey, we think we fixed it, can you check? There's a button in the, like on that same page. Just scroll down to like patch verification, hit the button, and the pen tester on their side is going to get a notification. Hey, they want you to check this. And that's free. You got like 9 or 10 of them, like on the same vulnerability. So like check it, go in, be like, oh, nope, I can't get it anymore. Good on you.
Yeah.
You fixed it.
I like that.
And they can even like chat with the pen tester for
That's
that
cool.
vuln. So
That's cool.
yeah, I think it's really cool. And that's like our standard is like a 14-day, but we do 90-day, we do 365 for if I was if my whole business was running e-commerce page where if this site goes down, I make no money, I'd want to make sure that site never goes down or could, have client data be, taken from it. So I'd want pen testers looking at it constantly. And for that, anytime a new push, anytime there's an update, we can tie into like GitHub Actions or GitLab Actions. So anytime there's a new commit or anything that's like merged into I want to call it master branch. I think GitHub still calls it that. There's a notification for an assessment on like, it's a continuous, so they're already paying for it. It like triggers all the researchers like, hey, there might be stuff in this to look at. Go check it out. And if it gets stale, the TAM goes, let's put incentives on this. Like, let's up the ante. Let's these guys aren't finding anything. Let's get a new cohort in there. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's a cool new way of doing it. Plus, we're working on some stuff where pen test teams can either license the platform so that then they can provide, like they can run everything through it like our SRT does and provide all the platform stuff. to their clients, or they could resell the platform to their clients, and then they can use it that same way. Their client pays for it. They do the tests, and they get paid for doing their tests instead of our SRT doing it. And then if they're not able to, then they could resell credits, and they get paid for, the resell, like 25% on that. And the client can get a test through our SRT. So,
Nice.
there's something that's not in their ability. We have the partnerships with the best folks in mobile. We've got most of the best folks in web and host, and it's pretty impressive, the group that we have.
And what's the website?
It's CINAC.com.
CINAC.com.
Yep, like the three-way handshake.
Got it.
So the middle part, CINAC.
All right. Well, we talked about this earlier. You travel extensively to different conferences, public speaking engagements. So since this is BarCode, I have to ask you, what's the coolest bar or bar type venue that you've ever been to, and what makes it unique?
There's a cool speakeasy in Savannah
Okay.
that you don't know exists until you walk up to it. Savannah's a pretty neat town. It was one of the only cities that didn't get burned down in the Civil War, because the general or colonel in charge of the town actually surrendered rather than fighting against Sherman in his rush to the sea. And so it's got a lot of that really old charm.
All right. Well, I just heard last call here. You got time for one more?
Sure.
All right. If you decided to open a cybersecurity theme bar, what would the name be, and what would your signature drink be called?
Probably Buffers Overflows or something like that. It would be an old fashioned, the Apple one.
The Apple one.
Yeah.
I like
that's what
that.
it would be called. It would be an old fashioned, but it would just be called the Apple one.
I like that, man. All right, Josh. Well, thanks again for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I think you already put your links out there during the conversation. I'll make sure I get those posted as well on the show notes. But hopefully we'll have time to catch up during Hacker Summer Camp and connect there as well. I appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, Chris.
All right,
See
take
you later,
care.
all.